So who am I? My name's Jack Palmer. I'm an operating board member, and I'm working with Tom on our capital campaign. Have no idea why they picked me to do this tonight, but I agree. Miracle is not a word that I use lightly, but it really exemplifies St. Joe's. How'd I get here? How'd I get on this operating board? Why did I show up? July of 2016, I go see my primary care doctor, Dr. Saba, over in the Osler building. He says, you know, you play golf, you got to put this sunscreen on every time you're out. So religiously, ears, face, arms, hands, legs, lather up in sunscreen. The problem with sunscreen is all the sand, all the grass, everything sticks to you when you finish playing. So I go up into the locker room, I'm taking a shower. And outside the shower, somebody hollers, "You haven't called me." And I jump and I turn around, and who's standing there in a green shirt, white slacks, green shoes, green hat? Everybody knows who it is, Senator Kelly. I did call you. I called your office, and they said, "You're vacationing with Janet in Italy." He goes, "I know where I was, but you got to understand." I said, "No, you don't understand. I'm not going to bother you on vacation." He goes, "But when it comes to St. Joe's, I want to be bothered. I put a call on you. Why didn't you call me back?" I said, "You were on vacation." He goes, "I need your help." I said, "I'm standing here like this today. I really can't really disagree with you, Doc. I'm all in." But it was easy. He had no idea how easy it was. My dad, 90 years old, been in and out of hospital 3 times, pneumonia. 4th time he was going to go in, I said, "We're not going back to where we were. We're going to go to St. Joe's." It was a flyer for me. I had no idea. We're going to go to St. Joe's. In we come. There he is, laying in the emergency department on the gurney, panics in his eyes. He's got the mask on. You can tell he's 90. He doesn't know where he is, but he's really scared. In pops Ben Van Landingham, sits down next to him on this little stool on wheels. He pulls out a piece of paper, and he goes, "Mr. Palmer, how you doing?" "Yep. All the sick people are on this piece of paper. You're not on it." My dad had an immediate look of relief. It was immediate. And I said, "Wow, that was really pretty cool." We've been back 5 times, not with my dad, but with everybody from my family, from Siegelbaum to Smythe, Eric Beauvoir, Sam Adler, Steve Pollock. They all touched our family. And I never knew it, but I was going through it. I was starting to see a little bit of miracles. So under the direction of Senator Kelly, he says, "We got to get focused. We got to raise some money. We got a project to do." And we started getting together. And I realized that we really were a little disorganized. So I turned around. We had a gathering of folks, but I brought in Jerry Sandusky, who everybody knows, voice of the Ravens, Channel 11 sportscaster, who also helps organizations kind of figure out who they are, where they are, and what they are. So as we were sitting around with staff, doctors, nurses, volunteers, he was going through having this discussion as to what are we? And in the middle of this, what plays but Brahms' Lullaby? Now, I'm a Hereford grad. Oh, there it is. Everybody stopped, everybody smiles. It was pretty fun. And he says, "What was that?" And he says, "Brahms' Lullaby. Every time a baby's born, that's what plays." And you could see it in his eyes. It was the layup. It was the softball pitch. It was the home run throw. He knew he had us. We didn't know he had us, but he had us. He knew exactly where we were. And he says, "What's that mean to you?" And people started barking out all kinds of topics. It meant mine was life. We heard love. We heard hope. We heard family. And he smiled, and after about 10 minutes, he says, "While the birth of a baby may seem commonplace to each of you who work here, you're missing the wonderful word every outsider would pick, and that's miracle." And from that day forward, we decided miracles happen here, and they happen here every day. Sometimes they happen 5, sometimes they happen once. And I'm sitting there thinking, "You're a dummy. You saw it with Van Landingham. You saw it with Siegelbaum, Eric Adler, Pollock. Your whole family went through here. From time to time, we've all been in here and we've all done it." So enough of me. I can tell you, if my mom and dad were here, they can tell you the story and they can turn it into a fact. All I can tell you is a story. And so tonight, we've got a short video that we can play. You're going to get to see it, and it's the patients that can turn the story into a miracle. So with that,
the first heart attack just kind of hit me. It put me on my knees.
Very well-known cancer hospitals turned me away.
I was in the intensive care unit, paralyzed from the neck down.
So I was admitted for pneumonia, and I woke up 3 weeks later.
Vivian was 1 pound 15 ounces when she was born. Every day since has been a miracle, and we are grateful for every day.
As of last month, I was 5 years cancer-free.
I'm living a better life.
What happened to me at St. Joe's was miraculous.
And there is no quantifying how much that means.
so now it gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. Tom Smythe, President and CEO of University of Maryland, St. Joseph Medical Center.
Wow. Good evening, everyone. Welcome, and thank you very, very much for coming. I hope that short presentation gave you a real sense that we're about people. We're not just a place, but we're about people. That's who we are. 5 lives changed forever. I certainly agree with Jack. Miracle is not a word that any of us would ever use lightly. As caregivers, it is the science that guides us, but as people, as human beings, it is faith that sustains us. We are a faith-based hospital in the Catholic tradition. Tonight, we want you to see and understand what it's like from the other side of the bed, from a patient who was in need of a miracle when she arrived at the University of Maryland, St. Joseph. Jay Abate was admitted through our emergency department, presenting with breathing complications on May 7th, 2016, and that was the beginning of Jay's journey with us. Unbeknownst to Jay, she was suffering from the H1N1 flu virus, which was quickly causing complications. Pneumonia and sepsis were setting in. The flu was trying to take her life as the virus invaded her lungs. Her life hung in the balance for several weeks. Jay spent a month in our intensive care unit, nearly as long in one of our step-down units, followed by a lengthy stay in a rehabilitation facility. Her story, told by both Jay and her mother, Tessa, chronicled the seriousness of her illness and the level of personal care that her entire family received at St. Joe's. Jay's story is so compelling because she beautifully articulates what a miracle means to her. It's not based on something otherworldly or magical. It focuses on humanity. In a world where we are inundated constantly with frightening news stories that often cause us to despair, Jay's experience reminds us of the simple gifts that God gives us as human beings to care for each other. Jay's story also highlights the inner strength of the human spirit that's present in each and every one of us. After you see the video, I want you to remember the story because this is our story. This is your story. To the caregivers who are here tonight, and for those who couldn't make it tonight, we all want to thank each of you, and we cannot thank you enough. What you may think is ordinary, all in a day's work, I can assure you that it's not. It's extraordinary. You are our ambassadors. When patients remember their St. Joe's experience, trust me, they certainly don't talk about senior administration. They talk about the night nurse who comforted them, the physical therapist who went out of her way to encourage them, the physician who sat down by the bedside and said, quote, "I have all the time in the world to talk to you." And to our patients, We are eternally grateful to you for telling your stories. You are giving us a wonderful gift by allowing us to share your very personal experience with our community. So let's see another video.
So I would say the first thing is I'm a mom. It's the best part of my life. And my son Tristan is incredibly empathetic. He's been a huge source of support through all of this, even when it's been really hard on him. I had been feeling tired, and Sunday I started coughing and I couldn't stop. And Tristan got up in the morning, got ready for school, and he said, "You know what, I heard you really need to go see the doctor today, don't put it off." Kind of got some things together and walked down the stairs, and then I collapsed. And I was having a very hard time breathing. And they took me to the hospital, to St. Joe's, and I specifically told them, I have to go to St. Joe's. St. Joe's. And they brought me here, and I was seen immediately, and they determined at the time that it was pneumonia, and it was pretty severe. It turns out that it wasn't just pneumonia, it was H1N1 flu.
Jay was very, very, very scared. I had to talk to her son and tell him what was going on. I tried to reassure him when I was terrified myself. They moved her, and I think I have the days right, to the ICU on Thursday. She did not do well on Thursday night.
Within 3 days of my being here, the doctor came and said, "We really feel like we are going to have to put you under sedation and put you in an induced coma." My mom had to be the one who had to call the significant people in my life in the morning and say she made it through the night.
Anybody who is handed over someone who is very sick or needy to people that you don't know, you go into full worry mode. We never, from that point on, worried about her care, ever.
There were so many people that had all been working so hard for me for weeks with no idea whether or not I was going to pull through. And my son, had to go through all of that. And the ICU staff was unrelentingly kind.
Dr. Barr took us aside and said, "This is going to get worse." The fact that she was able to share that with us and look at us and be honest with us meant the world to us. But the fundamental reason for her recovery, I really believe it was a miracle.
I woke up 3 weeks later. I didn't understand where I was. I was paralyzed because I had been put on paralytics for a long time to keep me still during the coma, so I couldn't move. I was on a ventilator. I couldn't speak, and it was terrifying. The first conversation that I can really truly remember was not actually with the doctor from the hospital. My Uncle Phil said, "Everybody here is looking out for Tristan. And everybody here is looking out for you." So when I was really scared and knew I had to go somewhere, I wanted to come back to a place where I knew that they would care for me and care about me.
And my grandson, the fact that we were able to celebrate his 18th birthday, I couldn't go through that day without thinking, what would that experience have been like without her? And the reason that we were able to do that, even though St. Joe's wasn't at that birthday party, it was because of them.
I think that so many people coming together and working so hard to help save one person, one mother, one daughter, that's a miracle.
And now I'd like to invite Jay up to say a few words.
I'm not one much for public speaking. When they asked me to do this, I was a bit at war with my dread and my deep desire to make sure that at least some of the people who were so intimately involved with my care could be properly thanked. It is a testament to the community here that something that was so dramatic and scary and difficult in my life has turned out to be one of the best things that's happened. I've been invited back into the community here in a multitude of ways. I've come back and seen people in the ICU, and I've seen people in the other areas of the hospital that were all instrumental in helping me to recover, and gotten involved with the hospital, even when it was scary to keep coming back, because the culture here is so warm and so loving, and it's an emotional reaction in one way, in that I have an incredibly deep gratitude to so many people. And it's also intellectual in that it's fascinating to me that you guys get it right so often. People work really hard to work well together. And if you think that the person in that bed who has to sit there and watch everybody swirling around them all day doesn't notice that, they do. And there is no way for me to thank all of you and all the people who aren't here for the year's worth of memories that I have with my family, and getting to see the milestones in my son's life, and seeing my grandfather who's 95, and seeing the other people in my family that I still get to spend time with because of the gift that you've all given. And there are too many people to name, but I would like to say a very special thanks to Dr. Marks and Kirsten and Dr. Barr and Dr. Adler, who had to swirl around a case that had 92 things going on all the time and so many people to organize, and the other Dr. Adler, who helped keep me a little less cuckoo. There is not just tears, but there's a lot of joy, and there's also a lot of humor in the funny stories that you can tell when things happen. And I really appreciate the people who were with me step by step and who have gotten to see the recovery as well, because my standing here is an enormous accomplishment, and it is thanks to all of you. Thank you very much.
And now I'd like to introduce Gail Cunningham, Senior Vice President of Medical Affairs and our Chief Medical Officer.
Thank you. Jay, for somebody who doesn't like to do public speaking, you rocked. That was beautiful. I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight. Thank you. This is really special. See some familiar faces. It's wonderful. I presume there's not too many dry eyes, so thanks for the Kleenex, whoever remembered that detail. And Jay, I'm sorry your mom can't be here tonight. We're missing her, but she's with us in spirit. So I know it wasn't easy for you to relive that story, and I admire your courage in doing that. Your experience is really inspiring, and it instills hope in all of us. And I think many of us here know that medicine has its limitations, and that we really need the patient and their family and God to make the miracle happen. And so your courage and your will and your fight and your desire to get better, to be sitting next to your son tonight, that took a lot. And you're to be admired for your role in this whole process. Each of you, including 4-year-old Vivian Vero, has shown this fighting spirit and ability to tap into a life force that has allowed you to heal and to thrive. A nurse at St. Joe's who's now retired always gave this advice to our newest nurses: always be open to change, but never forget that your single most important job is to care, and to care deeply. And I think in Jay's video that was beautifully expressed, the caring that you received. The staff cared about you, Jay. They cared about your son, your parents, your friends. And it's unfortunate we can't probably thank all of the people who touched you during your long journey here at St. Joe's personally, but there were some people that you particularly wanted us to make sure that we acknowledged, and I'm hoping that many of them are here this evening. So I'm going to be calling your names and ask you to stand and remain standing so that we can acknowledge you. So Dr. Linda Adler, Dr. Sam Adler, Dr. Linda Barr, Jill Brown, Cassandra Cheney, Sean Herbeck, Jason Marks. I'm sorry, Dr. Jason Marks. Dr. Charlie Rizzuto, Kirsten Schmidt, Kimberly Snow, Judy Stasek, Danielle Torre, and Pat Vizard. And having worked with these people for many, many years, I can tell you that they work a lot of miracles, and we're really blessed to have you as part of St. Joe's. Thank you very much.
Need a Kleenex breaks? Anybody need one? We got boxes of them up front. We can pass them back. Thank you, Gail, Tom. I hope that you've seen this evening why we have something special here at St. Joe's. Whether you're a former patient, caregiver, or just a special guest. We can work hard, we can build state-of-the-art space, we can participate in clinical trials, but the single reason that we're here, the goal that never wavers, is to make our patients well in body and soul. It's something that the staff of St. Joe's never forgets. For 153 years, they've been doing it. We're going to keep doing it. I'm not going to put a timeline on it because it's just going to go on forever. This concludes the formal part of the event. We're going to have a little reception outside. Please stay, please talk, please meet each other, but have a fun time. Thank you.